This one is aptly titled Experiments in Sound. I've been in my new house for a little over 3.5 months, still kind of dialing in my listening position, playing around with the distance between my speakers, deciding whether I should tow them in or not. More on that here. I've been adjusting the placement of my speakers versus where I sit in this room now. And over this weekend, these Boston Acoustics A200s are actually designed to sit almost against the wall. That's the way that they were designed with the kind of disbursement of sound. But I decided to kind of tow them in slightly and pull them out a bit, about, I don't know, 8 inches here and 6 inches on that side. And then I have this speaker a little bit in the corner here. You see I have a couple of hard surfaces here on either side. I've got a window there. I do have an absorption panel behind that I used to have on the walls in my old place. Anyway, I have been doing some experimenting, and I'm kind of liking the situation right now. I actually moved my main chair. It used to be on the opposite side of this wood beam here, which is kind of a light wood beam. I don't think that's going to have a big issue on refraction or anything like that, but I have moved it to be more kind of dead center with my receiver and the speakers on either side. Which I think is giving me a good result right now. So that's where I am currently as far as speaker placement and setting up, the age-old situation of how are you going to configure a room. So for the time being, I'm going to run with this setup that I just kind of outlined. And I've been listening to several different things, and a few weeks ago I found a pretty cool pressing of Hunky Dory. It's a 1974 reissue from the 1971 album, and it's on the orange RCA Dynaflex label. So Dynaflex is interesting. Dynaflex was originally marketed as a superior vinyl product, and it was lighter in composition than other records, of the day. And I actually think the marketing was right. I think that the sound is superior. Now I have a recent 180 gram reissue of Bowie's Hunky Dory. The reissue is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with this reissue. If you only have this reissue, you should be very pleased. They came in polyline sleeves. I believe these are digitally sourced, but after this whole MoFi fiasco from last year, and listening to some of these DSD records, it doesn't matter. It's all about your ears and what you're hearing and what you're feeling, and if the emotion is there. And so what I decided to do is I wanted to listen to, just as a test, I wanted to listen to one of my favorite Bowie compositions, that odd composition with a minute of instrumental kind of lead in before you hear a Bowie vocal, and those vocals are amazing. 8-Line Poem. 8-Line Poem is the song I'm thinking about. That great kind of country riff that Mick Ronson put down on Gibson 335, I think. Check me on that, Bowie experts, but I think it's a Gibson 335 that Mick Ronson did that incredible guitar line on that song. Bowie is on piano, of course, and it's vocal, piano, and guitar, very, very spare, very effective. It's a sublime song, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I listened to that song on the reissue and the 74 Dynaflex, and damn it, I like the Dynaflex better. It's cut hotter, first of all. I kept the same volume level. It's cut hotter. It seems to have a little more life, a little more oomph. There's a little longer decay on some of those piano notes. So that's experiment number one. I wanted to kind of try out a little known pressing of Hunky Dory. It's a 74 Dynaflex. And seeing as I don't have an original US or UK pressing, but I have this in near mint condition, and I've listened to this many times since finding this, and this is my this is my go-to copy. You know, until I'm maybe at a record show and I pick up a UK original pressing, then the experiments will continue. But for now, I'm done experimenting and I'm on to enjoying. There is that Dynaflex label on that record. Probably not a ton of money. You can probably look on Discogs or keep your eyes peeled at record shows or your used record shops. Don't hesitate to pick this up if it's clean. Back during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of record purchasing and I had a lot of time on my hands. I had extra money on my hands. And I picked up the Acoustic Sounds double 45 RPM stereo copy of Pet Sounds. I thought, you know what? This is such an iconic record. I really need to have one of the top quintessential pressings, and it definitely is a quintessential pressing of this landmark album. Really great artwork. The two records, of course, they replicated the kind of rainbow Capitol label from, what was it, 1966? And, you know, when I was, I remember when I used to have a subscription to Rolling Stone, and I remember when the first issue came out, the 500 greatest albums of all time. Now, I should have looked this up, but I think Pet Sounds was in the top 5. It may have been number 1, it may have been number 3. I don't remember offhand. And I know that they did a recent kind of a relook at all those rankings, and a lot of things shifted. Anyway, my thinking was, well, let's get the Acoustic Sounds Analog Productions double 45 RPM, and we'll get it in stereo. This is not an album that I am reaching for frequently. Okay, I might play this album once or twice a year, if that. But recently, I think I saw a video. Michael Fremer talked about the best sounding pressing of Pet Sounds, and it's something that's a little bit under the radar. And since watching that video, I've seen other mentions of this pressing in the Hoffman forums and maybe a couple different live streams that I've been, kind of eavesdropping on. And what I'm talking about is the 1972 release of the Beach Boys' Carl and the Passions. This was the early 70s iteration of the Beach Boys. Bruce Johnston was no longer there. And, you know, we had Blondie Chaplin and Ricky Fattar, of course. That's who I was forgetting. Another look at that interior artwork. But many, there was another issue of Carl and the Passions that included a bonus cut of Pet Sounds. And curiously, in the liner notes, there is a note. So, recorded at Western, Columbia, and Gold Star Studios, Los Angeles, 1966. This recording is pressed in monophonic sound the way Brian cut it. So this is a mono copy of this record, and a lot of people will make the argument that mono is the way to go with Pet Sounds. There is maybe an equal amount of people saying no, it's stereo. With all of the wonderful things that are happening on this record, the stereo mix is the way to go, as a lot of people will say that. And this was issued on that kind of custom Brother Records and Reprise. So Brother Records had a contract with Reprise at the time. And this is a near mint copy that I recently picked up for all of about $37. And frankly, I haven't heard, I haven't even listened to Carl and the Passions yet. I was just very, very curious to find this, and I've had my eyes open I've been looking for it for a year. And I mentioned on a couple previous videos, I've been watching these online auctions. I actually watched them on Facebook, but they're on YouTube as well. Collectco, it's a record shop out of Lebanon, Tennessee. And literally they have auctions 5 nights a week. And there's some interesting stuff that pops up. And typically they're not auctioning everything, and they will take offers on things. They do a part 1 and then they do a part 2, which is later in the evening. I mean later. And it's during those kind of sessions that they'll run through records again that they showed previously, or maybe the previous night, and they're taking offers. So I put an offer in for, I think it was $37. And, you know, there's something to be said for a great mono recording. It's just kind of front and center. The vocals are front and center. Everything else is just kind of there. And, you know, I like the fact that, you know, you read that little liner note, the way Brian cut it and the way it was supposed to be. There's something important there, you know, respecting the artist's vision and maybe not tinkering with things. So I really, really like this pressing. Again, this is not my favorite record. I'm not going to be pulling it out frequently. But it's kind of a cool under-the-radar pressing to have. And it sounds fantastic. Now, you know, we're talking 1972 again, so you want to try and find a clean copy, but I didn't even have to put this through the Hummin' Guru yet. It is dead mint, and really pleased with this. So there it is. If you haven't heard already, Carl and the Passions, the 72 album with the bonus cut, mono cut of Pet Sounds. Check it out. I totally missed out on the acoustic sounds, UHQRs of Exodus, and I didn't get Rossaman Vibration either. But what I recently did, and I never have had I used to have this on CD for years, but recently here in town, one of my favorite shops, Driver 8 Records, I told Charles I was looking for a copy of this. The next time I came in, he had a copy. It cost me all of $27. The cover has been well loved. As you can see, this is a fine album, putting this on my turntable. It's got that Island black label with the kind of setting sun under Island. It's got sterling in the dead wax. This thing sounds absolutely amazing on my system, on my setup, especially after the tweaking I've been doing. I'm super pleased with this thing and happy that I didn't, have the fear of missing out and try to go to all ends to buy that UHQR. Everybody knows the story behind that. Or, there are people now emailing Tough Gong and, waiting for an invoice, and maybe there's an unnumbered copy that they're going to get in the mail 3 weeks down the road. I'm not going to bother with any hijinks. I'm really, really happy with an original U.S. pressing that costs less than $30, near mint condition. These songs are fantastic. This is basically almost a greatest hits album from Marley and the Wailers. The Face of Contentment. That is today's video. I am going to try and put out one, maybe even two more videos later this week. Stay tuned. We'll make a game day decision as we work through the week. I hope everyone, hopefully you're getting some spring-like weather. Is it officially spring yet? I can't remember. Anyway, spring is definitely here in Colorado. It is 72 degrees today, bright sunshine, leaves are popping, squirrels are out attacking my bird feeder. Life is good. Take care, everybody.